Yes,
Awesome.
it is.
Okay. All right. Perfect. Okay. So we are recording now. So I want to welcome everyone to our chapter end of the year and summit recap. So we're going to revisit a wonderful year, and we're looking forward to what 2022 and 2023 have for us. So just want to introduce myself. I'm Jamie Sagan. I'm the current president of the chapter, and we have our admin council on as well. So we'll do introductions later on, but I just wanted to present this for those who are viewing this as a recording. So basically, we're going to cover this as past, present, and future. So take a look back at what we did during the 21 program year, then what's happening now, and then what's coming up. So here's our little recap. So back in August, we started off with the webinar from Jack Molisani, Get That Interview, How to Beat the Dreaded Applicant Tracking System. So we had that. Then the following month in September, we had our Student Experiences webinar panel, in which John Clement, Royce Cook, and Anita Matichuk shared their internship and volunteer experiences with all of us. So that was great fun. Then in October, David Dylan Thomas presented on Design for Cognitive Bias, using mental shortcuts for good instead of evil. And it was, very well attended, and he presented a lot of interesting food for thought. Then November, we began our 4-part virtual RoboHelp workshop with Cindy Powell. In November and December of last year, she taught us the basics of RoboHelp and what to do within it. So in November, she conducted sessions 1 and 2. And then in December, she presented sessions 3 and 4. So it took place every other week. That way we had, a chance to absorb the information. Also in December, we had our holiday virtual gatherings. So we had a lot of really cool activities, including Mad Libs, trivia concerning Christmas movies, and even a game in which we had to guess the types of groupings for animals. So we had a lot of fun meeting virtually to celebrate the holidays. Then we come into 2022. Our chapter webinar was about job search tips from Rebecca Castillo. So new year, new beginnings. Here's some tips on how to search for a job. In February, our admin council gave a webinar about overall chapter benefits and gave details on our upcoming mini conference. So we wanted to share how to submit a proposal, what to expect, and then all the different services that we offer within the chapter, including our reimbursement program for when you take the TechCom exam, as well as our Discord channel, TechCom Office Hours. Then in March, we had a flurry of activity. We began with a webinar, the original remote instructors, instructional design lessons from TV's Greatest Teachers. So in her webinar, Catherine Wexell took the examples of Steve Irwin, not Steve Irwin, Mr. Rogers, Bob Ross, LeVar Burton, and Steve Irwin to take a look at how they approached knowledge and how they disseminated it with others. And we also, in March, we also had our mini conference. So we had 5 spectacular presenters give their presentations on a variety of topics. And in just a couple minutes, we'll play a recap video of some of the highlights from that day. So these were just a list of the presentations, and you'll see them like within the video. So we had, I presented, as well as Jack Molisani, Erica Frensley, Robert Delwood, and Agnes Menz-Krenzel. So in just a second, we'll be able to see some highlights from all the presentations. And if you're interested in viewing all the presentations in their entirety, we have a link available for our members so that you can go to that channel and view those presentations. But this is just a taste. So here, I mean, we'll share this link as well in the email that you'll get after, if you registered. We'll send you this link to all the presentations as well as to the video that we had, we were supposed to play earlier. So, but in any case, if you were there for mini conference, it was well attended and we learned a lot. It was a good way to spend a Saturday. And so moving along the calendar from our year, looking back, in April, Erica Frensley gave us a webinar on common sense data. And in May, we had the STC Summit in Rosemont, Illinois, near Chicago. So in fact, in just a few minutes, several of us are going to share what we learned at Summit as well as some of our perspectives of it. So we have those who attended, we've invited, and in just a few minutes, they're going to go ahead and share their screens and share their experiences. So we're going to hear from, and in no particular order, Royce Cook, Agnes Menz-Krenzel, Cindy Powell, myself, and Laura Tallis. So at this time, who would like to be, who would like to begin first?
I'm going to begin second. Oh, sorry.
I'm going to stop sharing my screen.
It looked like you had us in alphabetical order.
Yeah, I did that.
Cool,
I listened.
I was thinking we could do that if Royce, if you're good to go.
You know what? Let's do alphabetical order.
Oh, lucky you, Royce.
Sure, we can go in alphabetical. I'll go first. So at the 2022 Summit, I was a volunteer, and I had a really good experience doing that, being able to go to different sessions and just kind of oversee the conference from a higher level. It differed greatly from last year's Summit, which was virtual. I was still a session monitor there, still got to connect with some of the attendees, but definitely in person was more collaborative, more social, and it really facilitated the learning because a lot of the attendees would exchange notes and they would get together and kind of review what they learned. So if they weren't able to go to a certain session and somebody was, it was really good to know that somebody had notes that you could review and look over so you weren't missing out on anything. There were other volunteers as well, and they were great. They were other students, and it was so awesome to learn from them, learn what they were studying in school, and see how they're making their contributions to technical communication and what they want to do in their career. So it's overall a really good experience from a student's perspective and also from a volunteer's perspective of just being able to network with other technical writers and enjoy lots of the events that they put on in Chicago. Going out to dinner was nice, and it was just overall a really good time.
Thank you. Thank you, Royce.
Yes.
Glad you were able to go, and thank you for sharing your experience. Okay, next, alphabetical. And okay, Agnes.
Agnes. It's me. Hi, guys.
Hi.
I just want to say, first of all, that I was very happy to be at conference this year, and I got lucky because after my presentation, I won a ticket through your chapter. So I was very appreciative of that, and just happy to be at conference because I hadn't gone like in, I think it was like the last one was 2018, and that was with Lacey on my chapter team. So it was nice to be there in person, and like Roy said, it was just nice to have that face-to-face interaction. I was glad that the students were there. They brought some energy, that, kind of new energy. It's just nice to have them around. But I attended Jennifer Good's session on keeping score, advancing your career by tracking personal KPIs. And so that I want to share on my slide deck today. I just feel like for me in my career, this has been something that I wish I had known earlier to include in my, daily work and just kind of be all about that, because that's the business language, right? So I'm just going to start this so that we can get on with it. So yes, keeping score, advancing your career by tracking your personal KPIs. What are personal KPIs? So basically, you should talk about personal KPIs being the performance milestones that you track. They should be small, measurable, and specific. And you should do that incrementally to support your professional advancements. But your KPIs must also be tied to your overall business goals. So don't just willy-nilly create KPIs. Make sure that, you have, like, it's tied to the overall business goals. And I think in my company, business goals kind of drill down from, the directors, the CEO to the directors, and then to the managers, and then to team members. So hopefully it works that way in your company too as well. Why do we establish KPIs? Well, because in business, you must continually be able to show your progress and to prove your value. And you must also be able to communicate that value to your manager. You must do it periodically. Don't just wait until you're doing your performance review. So KPIs are a way that it can give us a common language to use to effectively communicate what we're doing, how we're accomplishing it, by defining, tracking, and measuring our progress, and also by sharing that as well. Some career actions that can turn into advancements. For example, if you acquire additional knowledge, if you go back to school, if you obtain any kind of professional certifications, take on more meaningful work, you need to create consistent to record all these things that you're getting done. To do this, you have to be intentional, because you have to set goals to be effective. So you have to set a time goal. You have to set, written goals to make sure that every intention that you have, you'll be able to accomplish, and you have to communicate as you accomplish things. You have some of the things you need to consider to track your activities, to demonstrate your progress. You have to track activities like how would you demonstrate your progress? Those are the things you need to think about when you're trying to create KPIs. How will you show growth? How will you show that you're gaining expertise in some area? How will you show the things that you've accomplished and demonstrate your value to the organization? Make sure that you are highlighting those targeted actions that you take. To do that, you have to create a framework to track your KPIs. So you have to identify what is trackable, right? Everything is not trackable. So you have to identify in your work what is trackable. You have to decide to measure that every day. And some ways you can do that, just put in your calendar, or if you have a task list or Excel spreadsheet, you have to find a way to record what you're doing and your outcomes of what you're doing. And also plan to share. That's the part, right? Because you don't want to just be doing stuff for doing sake. Sometimes people see your value and they see what you bring to the table, but you have to articulate it. You have to be in control of that. So you have to plan to share it and share it with those people that are, stakeholders, right? Not just people who cannot help the race. So example, some KPIs that you could think about, she shared these examples with us, like, talk about how you help errors by creating, concise documentation, concise, effective documentation. Maybe that helped the support team reduce calls, when they use the documentation. Maybe you consistently met deliverable dates, customer testimony, maybe you got some feedback, and then your processes that was implemented to save time or to improve collaboration, and then tools that were implemented to save cost. Those are some ideas that you could probably build off of. So to keep all the good things to yourself, you have to be strategic and plan to communicate it with key stakeholders, like I said. So you identify stakeholders. First and foremost, I think it's going to be your boss, your direct boss, and then, their boss. But if you're able to communicate with your direct boss, I'm sure the message will go out, as it's supposed to. And identify, when you're working on a team, or even if you're by yourself, I think the best thing to do, and I always think like this in my job, is to ask my boss, what can I do to help? So every time I'm looking out, like, what can I do to help? What does she need? And so identify your key stakeholders' needs, because that's what's more meaningful to them. And set up a time to communicate regularly. Like, I don't just wait at performance review time, do it regularly, so that by the time performance review comes, you are, your value is already there, and that conversation would need to be had. How can we use these KPIs? You can use them in job applications, of course, resumes to show your value. You can use them to talk about promotion opportunities that might come up on the team. Like I said, annual reviews, professional goals, merit increase. You can use it as a merit increase, and grassroots applications are. And then, of course, your personal goals for the new years. You can sit there and kind of decide, okay, what do I want to achieve this year in my job, or just in my career overall. So now it's your turn. I just want you to just think about these questions. How do you define KPIs in your work, and how do you track your daily accomplishments from month to month? You can start writing down specific statements, like, I accomplished X by delivering Y to solve Z. Share your accomplishments and your achievement with your key stakeholders too as well. That's all I have.
Thank you so much, Agnes. That was a really good summary of the presentation.
You're so welcome.
And this is, these are good tips that we can follow too. Yeah, awesome. So again, thank you so much.
You're so welcome.
Okay, next we have Cindy Powell, who's going to share her summit experience.
All right, so I'll turn on my camera for a minute because it's over on the side, and I'll wave at everyone, and then you'll have a picture in your head of what I look like. Hi, everybody.
Hi, Cindy.
All right, and now I'll try to share my screen again. All right, so I want to share screen 2 and share. Sure, and then everything went over to screen 2.
Yeah, I see
Okay.
your screen. Summit recap.
You see the slides? Okay, great.
Yes.
All right, I'll start the show. So this is my summit recap. I attended, so I did a whole thing, Jamie, but
okay.
I'll let you know, y'all know which sessions I attended. If you have questions, I can kind of look at my notes. But on Monday, I went to 007 Operation Content Ecosystem. That was with Alan. And I kind of went to that session by accident, but it was a happy accident. So Alan Porter, sorry, I blanked on that for a minute. Then I went to content maturity models, testing your rate at the top, content operations. On Tuesday, the first session of the morning was all about the technical communication body of knowledge, and I was one of the speakers. Then I went to Danielle's session on selling your content strategy, 9 easy steps for client or stakeholder connections. Tech Smith presented 5 ways to easily improve your visuals, and then also went to the session on how to edit technical documents for Chicago style faster and better. On Wednesday, I went to what's the problem writing user-focused content and why it matters. So I also went to the opening and closing general sessions and a couple of the community affairs committee sessions. So that's that. All right, so today I'm going to talk about 007 Operation Content Ecosystem and what I learned there, and some of the things that I learned in this session, I'm going to try to apply to the work that I'm doing with the TechCom body of knowledge. So what Alan was addressing specifically in his session was a plan to link the bond lexicon, which he and his wife Jillian have written, their website, to their Twitter and Instagram platforms. Please don't notice the typo. They decided that with all their planning that their website should have a purpose, and then so I said your content should have a plan for all platforms to drive people back to something. It might be movies or a website or a podcast or something else. And then you should also create a matrix. So I did this little drawing in my notebook. I am not as clever as that young woman who does the great drawing notes, but Vizio is my pal. So what you can see is that we have the World Wide Web, and then Alan and Jillian have the Bond Lexicon website. And so they're doing everything, all the podcasts and Twitter and Instagram, Tumblr, and their bookshop. They all work together to push people back to the web and to the Bond Lexicon site. So it's kind of a visual. Alan has a better visual in his slides, but I didn't want to steal that, so I just drew it. And then this is an example of the matrix that they created. Theirs is a lot longer and more specific, but I tried to put this together yesterday so we could, so you could see kind of how things drive, I guess, how the matrix works. So you might, for example, for the TCBOC, we have a website. So the content that you would do is you would put some new content out there, might be text and images. You should decide how often you're going to do that, what links you might want to include when you update that website, and if you're going to include any hashtags. Then think about Twitter and how you make a post on Twitter. It could be text or images. Then you can decide your frequency, links, hashtags. I think when Alan and Jillian post something to Twitter, they go and put a link back to the Bond Lexicon website. And they do similar things with Instagram, and then they also have a podcast. So the content for the podcast would be a topic, it's an audio, and decide frequency, links, and hashtags. So you want to come up with some kind of plan for all of your content, and you can use the diagram from here as well as a matrix. So that's pretty much what I got from Alan's, because when he started talking about some of these things, then I started thinking about the TechCom body of knowledge. So that session was presented by Deanne Levander, who is our committee chair, and also Melissa Rurik was there. She and I are editors on the committee. The purpose was for us to talk about the TCBOC and the content there and what our current goals are for this year. We presented a sitemap, and then during the session, we asked everyone who was there to kind of do an exercise with us where they could help us focus our list of content needed for the TCBOC site. So right now, this is our sitemap for the TCBOC. We have 8 content areas, plus we have a contribute page. The content areas were developed a couple of years ago, and they kind of align with the focus areas for the certification process. And right now we've got different people assigned to each of the content areas. I'm working on tools, and the tools content area includes accessibility, content management systems, glossary, personas, resources, which is our extensive bibliography, and then also usability testing. So we have this big sitemap that we're working through. One thing that I forgot to mention is that, so the TCBOC has been around in some form for several years. I believe in our history document, it says that it was created in 2008. Since that time, I believe it's been on 3 different platforms, so that right now it's on WordPress, and it's in the same server as the STC website. So right now what we're doing is we're checking all the content that was migrated. Most of the garbage is gone, but you know, we're still finding every now and then some empty pages. So we're trying to fix that and then pull in more content, which we're bringing in right now from Intercom. So let's see, all about the TC Bot. We have a page that's called Content Needed, and there's a number of subjects or topics on that page. A couple of them are user experience, scripting, HTML, writing for mobile devices. There's also some things out there like artificial intelligence, and I'm whipping out a piece of paper right now, and responsive design, outlining. So it can be very high level, the content we'd like, or it can be very specific. Let's see. And then does anyone have any questions for me? I'm going to try to write a newsletter article this year for the for our chapter newsletter. So that should have more information if you'd like it.
That'd be great. Thank you so much, Cindy. Anybody have any questions for Cindy? Or even if you don't now, if you have them later, you can always reach out to her.
Yep, let me know. Okay.
Awesome. Thank you.
You're welcome.
And now it's my turn. So
Yay.
let me see if I can unshare you. Yeah,
Good, because I can't see my
yeah.
my controls again.
I unshared you. I don't know if unshared's a word, but oh, wait a minute. That's the wait.
It is now.
It is now. We coin words.
Or are we Englishing? Oh, sorry.
Yeah. Hey,
look, it's Lucy.
Hi, Lucy. She looks just like my cat. It's so funny.
Okay, those are the slides from that's the main slides that I had. Let's see. Let me stop sharing. Let me find because I had them up. I don't know why they didn't. Let me see. Let me bring. Maybe if I highlight the screen. Yeah, let me do that. What's did I get for? Let's see. Now I'm going to share. There we go. I purposely made it a different color so I can easily spot it.
Cool. We can see it.
Pepto-Bismol pink.
Oh, goodness.
No, I just love pink. I'm like Shelby from Steel Magnolias. It's my signature color. So I don't know why I get that stupid pop-up. But anyhow, I just wanted to share with you my experiences about Summit. Some that's on the screen and some that's not. I'll first share stuff that's not on the screen. As part of the Community Affairs Committee, I was in charge of our bingo game, in which it was an icebreaker in which people got to, get to know other people and have them sign the bingo slip. And I thought that was a really fun game because it got people talking with other people and people were just energized. And I loved the fact that we offered different prizes based on everyone's artwork. So for example, Liz Poland had donated a watercolor painting. Rachel Houghton had donated the choice of one of her photographs. I crocheted some sea creatures. Melissa Work from the IDL SIG constructed some gorgeous like succulent plant sculptures and so forth. So it was just a really nice way for us to experience everyone's creativity. And Danielle Villegas even created some really special prizes for all of us. And if I had thought about just now, I would have included some photographs, but just know that was just a really nice experience. Very engaging, and it's something to consider for future reference. But in these slides, I'm going to talk with you about one of the sessions that I attended, as well as the closing keynotes. So first of all, one of the sessions I attended was the Knowledge Exchange panel. They talked about emotional intelligence in the workplace, and this panel consisted of Alan Hauser, Giuseppe Gatto, Marley Mesabov, and Jeff Scattini. And so I'm just going to give you some just an overview of this really interesting panel. So first of all, the panel addressed these 3 questions. So what is emotional intelligence? How do you introduce it in the work culture? And how do we work on our own? So first of all, emotional intelligence is basically recognizing how we feel and how we react. So one of the panelists had suggested whenever you're thinking of exercises on emotional intelligence or thinking of what to do in a particular situation, use a persona that's based on a real person, not just a composite, because it's a lot easier to have that real person in mind. And the panelists also suggested a couple of books if you want to learn more about emotional intelligence: Storytelling for User Experience and Design for Real Life. So I want to check those books out to learn more about this subject. The second question they introduced was, how do you introduce it in the work culture? These 3 items came to mind. First, you start small. You don't have to feel like you have to start something grandiose. You also want to model that behavior yourself. And also the big key is listening to other people, making that conscientious effort to actually hear what they have to say and process what it is that they want. And finally, how do we work on our own emotional intelligence? And as you can see, there are a lot of different pointers that we can do. The big one is starting with ourselves, because once we have it down, or once we're able to control ours, then we're able to help influence others. And one of the panelists suggested this exercise in which you identify the 3 most common emotional states in various situations. So what are your 3 most common states at the beginning of the day, or at the end of the day, or after you get off the phone with a difficult client, and so forth. And identifying these emotional states helps you identify what to do about how you're feeling and how you can control your emotions. Another way we can work on our own EI is playing up to our strengths, because a lot of us assume that we're not enough, and we actually are. And another way of working is sharing our own vulnerabilities. If we do so, then it may encourage others to do so. Now, you have to ride that fine line between sharing your own experiences or oversharing. You don't want to overshare, so you have to share what you're most comfortable with. And then if you're in a group setting, another way of encouraging others is to just saying, who else has something to share? That way, you give others a chance to share their emotions or their feelings without putting them on the spot, because a lot of people don't like being put on the spot and they feel fearful. But the main thing really is KYA, know your audience. And I mean, it just comes over time in developing that. So it was a really interesting panel, and I wish it were longer, but I got a lot out of it in the 45 minutes that they were there. And so the second thing I want to cover is our closing keynote, The Courageous Career by Amber Naslund. And in her closing keynote, she talked a lot about the imposter syndrome and strategies that we can take to combat this. So in essence, the imposter syndrome, it's not the disease, but it's a symptom. And Amber talked about various things that, it's brought along by several factors, like the achievement culture, because as soon as we do something, then there's something else that we have to do. And if we feel driven to always have to do, achieve, that's stressful. And then just the fact that everyone starts, at different starting lines, and there, different life happenings may prevent some from going forward in life. And I remember she showed that video of, okay, take 2 steps forward if you blah, blah, blah. So she used that example to show how even situations in our lives can help others to succeed or impede others. Imposter syndrome can be brought on by work traumas and detours. The stress is brought on by that, and people being mean and telling you that you're not good enough or just disparaging you. And then what I thought was interesting was the presence of social media, of having to be connected to everything, and then the pressure to always to always appear your best. So it's kind of like you present your polished self So it's like you always have those people on social media, they seem to have the perfect lives, but you have to remember that that's a curated image. They're only sharing with you what they want to share. You're not necessarily seeing the, the warts or the scars behind that quote perfect picture. So how do you recognize your own privilege? So Amber suggested you practice intentional gratitude. Yes, you acknowledge you do have some privileges, but you use that to help others along. And so I'm just going to share with you real quick, keeping an eye on the time, the 8 strategies for fighting imposter syndrome. And I kind of split this among 4 slides, that way you can see them. So these are the 8 strategies, and I'll go through them in summary detail. So the first one is having your own committee of champions. So these are people that can help you. These are people you trust. And these are also people that give what Amber called compassionate truth. They're not going to, they're going to tell you it like it is. They're not going to tell you only what you want to hear. And what you want to ask your committee is, what do you think my greatest strengths are, especially the ones that I might not see? Because we tend to devalue the skills that come easily to us. So like, oh yeah, I could do this. It may be difficult for another person. So just because it's easy for us doesn't mean that it's not valuable. We had to work at that. The second strategy is having your inventory of truths. So Amber suggested writing down your tangible accomplishments and carrying that list with you at all times. Make it a point to update that list and make it a ritual. That way it's up to date and it helps you realize, hey, I've done quite a bit in my life. The next 2 strategies, GTFO or get the blank offline. So if, a lot of people tend to spend a lot of time on social media and then you start feeling bad because you see all these curated images of people having the quote perfect life, and then you start feeling bad. You use that extra time that you would have spent online to spend quality time with your loved ones, read, reach out to them, like give them a call, write a letter, etc. But the main question really is analyzing your own use of social media. Why do you do what you do online? So she's not saying necessarily get totally off, but think about, why do you go online and why do you spend so much time there? And then just prioritizing your time accordingly. The 4th strategy is raising the bar and walling the garden. So basically it's keeping bad people out and setting clear boundaries for people. The 5th strategy is owning your origin story, where you came from and how you got to where you are. And Amber said, don't change it just to fit some desired narrative. You own your own story. Embrace your weirdness, because that makes you, you. The 6th strategy is drawing new maps. Basically, you want to ask yourself these questions. How do I want to show up in the world regarding your attitude and presentation to others? And what do I want to leave better than I found it? And finally, what is my purpose? And this doesn't have to be some big, grandiose ideal. It's just thinking about, why am I here? What do I want to do? It could be a small action, but at least it's something that you can embrace. And finally, the last 2 strategies. First of all, you shatter the stigma. Remember, it's I feel versus I am. Yeah, you could feel like an imposter, but remember, you are not one. So remember that. And finally, the last strategy is paying it forward. Help others, share your knowledge with others, and then finally shine that spotlight on others to help lift them up. And doing so will help you contend with the imposter syndrome, because overall, it's basically, think of it as a tool for growth. So next time you have these feelings of, oh, I can't do this, or I'm such a fraud. No, it's because you're stepping outside of your comfort zone. So, and of course you're going to feel uneasy when you step out your comfort zone. That's why they call it comfort zone. So it's a tool for growth. And the only thing scarier than change is regret. So just do it. And I liked what Amber said about not being an imposter. You're simply leveling up. Think of, video game analogy. So those are the things I wanted to share at Summit. And it was a wonderful experience, and it was, I loved being able to see everybody in person for the first time in 3 years. I mean, we get to see each other on Zoom all the time, and that's wonderful. And I'm thankful for that technology. But there's something about seeing people in person. So that was my summit experience. And now I'd like to turn over to Laura Tellis, who's going to share her experience.
Thanks, Jamie. Yes, like Agnes, I won the raffle to get a registration to the summit through our mini conference. Just wanted to hold up. Okay, let me turn off my virtual background so you can actually see it. But yeah, this is the coaster that Danielle crocheted, and she had one for each of us at the CAC event. I really appreciated it because I think of all the time she took into crocheting like 30 of these. So I do use that at home as a coaster. And then let me share my screen. I just have one slide, so let me pull it up. All right, and it's interesting that Jamie talked about that emotional intelligence with Jeff Scattini, because I attended one of his talks as well. Let me see if I can do the slideshow mode here, slideshow. I attended one of his talks as well, and it was on building effective leadership through vulnerability, and it kind of builds up what we were talking about in the chat about having emotions in the workplace and admitting you have emotions. And I feel like in the past, we were told to pretend we didn't have emotions, especially in the workplace. But I feel like there's like being a real paradigm shift now, and that's changing a lot. And Jeff talked about vulnerable leadership, which involves being open, transparent, and honest, even about your struggles, and admitting that you're not perfect, right? Because none of us are. So if we're struggling with something, or if we need help, actually admitting that in the workplace. Doing what he called leading from the middle, which means if you're the leader of the team, don't ask them to do something that you're not willing to do. Assign rather than dictating. So in team meetings, ask who might be interested in this task. And get volunteers to take it. Equal opportunity tedium, you know, those boring tasks that no one likes to do. He talked about sharing those this team. And then learning from your team, admitting that just because you're their leader does not mean you're the expert on everything, that you know everything. So let your team provide some expertise and listen to their proposals. And then he talked about business vulnerability some too, admitting what you don't know, you know, that you don't know things and what it is. Your errors save customers pain. That's the idea of if you make a mistake doing something, let your team catch it and catch it yourself before it actually is published and goes out there and causes problems. That's what we do kind of with usability testing. And kind of reframing mistakes is not something terrible to be avoided, but as a way to learn. He even said, make new and interesting mistakes. It's interesting because even though I didn't get the slides on the keynote speaker, I'll stop sharing this. But from what I remember of her talk, she mentioned that as well, building trust with your brand. And that is something certain brands have done. I think she mentioned Zoom, this software, right? So they, at the beginning, they were very small, I think, in the market until like the pandemic really hit March 2020. And then everyone all of a sudden went to Zoom. And for a while, they had problems with security, people who were not invited to the meeting, coming in, causing problems, showing porn, things like that. And they had to adapt to that. And they actually, I think, issued an apology and admitted that there were some gaps in security and worked on things like making a password a requirement automatically by default for a meeting, things like that to keep meetings safer, since Zoom was where everyone was going, even children, you know, going to Zoom for school. So we need to keep these meetings secure. But instead of pretending that there wasn't a problem, actually admitting that there is a problem and what you're doing to solve it, actually builds trust in brands and increases brand loyalty. So I think on the human perspective and the business perspective, I think being vulnerable is helpful. And I know my company, Emerson, is doing this a lot with what they call courageous conversations. And they have people talk about some really things that maybe in the past they would have kept private. Sometimes they've been excluded, some really painful emotions they've gone through, and sharing that with like our global audience, which is like 80,000 people. But I feel like that actually does help. And our new CEO has done some of that himself. And it's definitely a shift from the way things used to be, but to me, it actually helps. And I know I personally wouldn't I wouldn't now switch to a company where I had to kind of hide again, where I had to go back in the closet in various ways. I mean, I joined the LGBTQ plus allies employee resource group, admitted I'm a queer person. I'm starting a chapter for the Employees with Disabilities group. I'm going to be honest about my mental illness. And am I going to leave the company to go somewhere where I have to hide? I don't think so. So actually, if you want to attract the next generation, also, your company better be open to that. So anyway, that's what I had to share. Are there any questions on that or anything? And if not, I was hoping Rachel could maybe talk. I know you don't have slides, Rachel, but if you want to talk about being the official summit photographer.
Yes. Laura, thank you for sharing. Thank you.
Sure,
So-
I can jump in if you like.
Yeah, go ahead, please.
Okay, well, it's not a job for one person, as I discovered. I don't know if you saw me running around like a chicken with its head cut off, but
Well, you ran so fast, it was like I could barely see.
so I attended all these sessions you guys have talked about, but for no more than 5 minutes. So, but I probably took over 2,500 photos. It was great seeing everybody. I enjoyed my summit experience immensely, but it was a great idea to take the day off after I got back home because I just pretty much slept.
Oh, I bet.
12 hours. But it is that if you ever have an in-person, mini conference and you want somebody to do it, photography, just ask. But a conference like the summit with as many moving wheels, it was well, I did headshots. I also did videos for STC, plus I also did all the event photography and the networking sessions and everything else. So that's like a 2 or 3 person job.
Oh my gosh. Well, I mean, let's say I had to learn, the hard way, but I mean, what I've seen of your photographs, they came out wonderfully. And it's always nice to see pictures of all of us and then reliving experiences. And also, oh my God, I'm in the background of that picture. Oh my God, I see so-and-so. Cool. So
yeah,
you were kept really busy, Rachel.
Oh, I got some good ones of you too.
I know.
Especially that big smile from winning the LavaCon free registration
Yeah.
too.
Oh yeah, that was, and I had Danielle's crown on too, which was perfect. Because I was the bingo queen for the CAC social event, so I had my crown on early. But that was fun. So thank you for sharing, Rachel. And at this time, anyone else who attended Summit last month, if you'd like to share your experience, we invite you to do so.
Yeah, I don't know if, yeah, Lori, you were there.
Oh, that's okay. Does anybody else want to go? I'll go last. So just
Robert was
anybody
there
else?
as a speaker.
Yeah,
Robert,
and as a
did you-
host, part of the host chapter.
that maybe he doesn't want to
But I
speak.
mean,
Yeah.
we're,
Oh, there he is.
Oh,
Go
yeah,
ahead.
I'm here. I'm disappointed that no one in this group went to mine.
Well, it was only because there was another one that conflicted. That's
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
how that always happens. There's always the time slots in which there were 2 or 3 that you know, you have to debate, and then there's some time slots where nothing's interesting. So it was just
Yeah.
unluck of the draw.
Actually, yours was at the CAC event. I remember it was the same time slot as the CAC event where we got the bingo
No.
cards.
Yeah, and I
Okay.
had to be there.
It was, I will grant you this, it was a specialized topic. It was about API documentation, not everyone's thing. However, I did enjoy the show. The turnout was a little bit smaller than previous years, but for coming back after a 2-year break, I thought it was a great turnout. I did get one of those yellow and blue knitted coasters. I don't have it here in front of me, but it is pretty cool. I'm looking forward to next year.
Oh yeah, at Atlanta.
Atlanta, yeah.
Yeah,
I hope to be there as well.
me too.
But my family will kill me if I'm not.
So I think you have family in Atlanta.
Oh yeah.
I don't
I'll
know,
probably-
Rachel, do you have time to see your family and to go to the summit?
Well, no, that's where all the weekends come in.
Yeah.
I think you're up, Lori.
Yeah, go ahead, Lori.
Oh, okay. Can you all hear me?
Yes.
Well, this summit was particularly meaningful to me. It was the first one I had attended in 5 years. And it was also the first time I had traveled since my cancer surgery in 2019. So it was just, I felt very blessed and grateful to be there. Even though it was a real whirlwind, because the second our plane touched down, I mean, Friday night I got in, Saturday it was like getting ready for board stuff, getting the pictures taken. We had a board dinner on Saturday night, which was really wonderful, very tasty. Sunday was a 4-hour board meeting. And then so I was kind of interspersing educational sessions with trying to keep up with what I need to do for the board and the CAC and everything else. So it was a whirlwind, but it was a good whirlwind. And it was really great. I was so proud of the CAC for everything they did with the information exchange and the social events. You know, Anne Marie is going to be a really tough act to follow as I transition over to the CAC chairpersonship. But I did want to share these two little guys. Jamie was kind enough to give me for Daisy and Lucy, and they've been batting them around the floor. They love these little taco things, and they love this. This is Daisy's favorite one right here. And, you know, Jamie also knitted some really wonderful other objects, including a starfish, which I thought was so cool. And, you know, the bingo card was a lot of fun. So we've collected some really nice feedback about the CAC event and the table and everything. So we're probably going to do quite a lot of that next year. And hopefully we can come up with some, you know, a few little new twists and turns too. So, you know, overall, it was just really great to be there and see everybody. And it was really almost kind of strange, like, you know, seeing people in person, you know, it's like, oh, there's Jamie, there's Cindy, there's Melissa, you know, it's like in person, you know, so that was really, you know, that took some getting used to, but it really was, you know, a great experience. And Jamie, thank you so much for your summary about Amber's talk. That talk was truly awesome. It was a real eye opener. And I have actually done some research about emotional intelligence and imposter syndrome. And these are real, because one of the things that I have noticed over the years in the workplace, now I don't know if this is true around the world, but especially in the United States, we are raising the bar as far as visual, you know, visual acuity, ability to make things interesting visually. And you're seeing all of these, I get these emails all the time to go to these webinars about make your PowerPoint slides from boring to bombshell, you know, or, you know, make your graphics look like $1 million, you know, so there is tons and tons of pressure on, visual skills and graphic skills. And that's both a good thing and a bad thing. And for people like me who can't even draw a stick man, this is really tough. And one of the things that's tough for us also as technical communicators is that at the heart of our work, no matter what, writing is still the most important thing we do. Clear, concise communication is everything. No matter what your artistic skills are, no matter what your other, whether you can sing or dance or, do improv comedy or anything else, communicating clearly with words is everything. Without that, nothing else matters. And I am hoping that for Summit 2002, I attended many, many great sessions. And I love the one on KPIs. Agnes, thank you for your nice summary on that. But I'm hoping next year we can kind of revisit the topic of the vital importance, the central core of what we do, which is clear, concise communication, because that's what our customers are hungry for. So I was kind of sad to get on that plane to go back.
Yeah. That's always the hardest. That's always the hardest. That it's like the post-Christmas letdown.
Yes.
So I have two things I forgot. On a personal note, Laura, my daughter got a new cat last week.
Oh, okay.
And during the convention, I found out that my daughter informed me that her cat died.
Oh.
So, but she went down to the rescue last week and found a new one. So the circle of life continues. The other thing I forgot to mention, I really liked, and I don't know if this is new, but after each day they had some special events. So on Monday it was small dinners at restaurants nearby.
That's fun.
There was a baseball game and baseball game. And the cool thing about that is, in order to meet people, and I do like meeting people, it has to be a little more natural environment than just a mixer. You can put people in a room but they're just going to stand off or talk to other people that they know, and they're not going to approach anyone they don't know. These mixers were a great idea. It forced them together. It mixed them up, and you got people talking, not necessarily about tech writing even. But that's one of the best ways to really meet new people is in that natural sort of mixer environment.
Yeah, they've had the dinners out for a few years. Of course, you have to pay your own and you have to sign up for it separately. But I do like those as well. I went to Boga to
I never heard of them before. And
they definitely had it in Denver and I think Orlando.
Right, and then DC. Do you think DC was the first one because they won a PaceSetter for that?
Oh, really?
For the dine around.
Yeah, they call it the dine around.
Dine around, yeah, but you did have to sign up separately.
Sure.
Just so they for RSVP purposes, they know how many people.
But even before it was official, there was almost always a group led by Ryan Armstrong at previous summits before DC where you could sign up and do that kind of thing.
And they also used to have the band, the Rough Drafts with and others.
But that's like sponsored. Yeah, that was, if they were lucky to get good sponsorship, for the equipment.
Yeah, that's the one thing. I think that the Rough Drafts would be more than happy to get together and play at these conferences. It's
that was fun.
The logistics and the cost and, the transportation of equipment. That's always a huge challenge. Yeah.
I think they also have to join the local union. I remember hearing about that one year that they had to do something like that in addition to all the cost for the equipment and stuff.
Oh,
yikes. There was something having to do with that.
Well, that would not be in Texas.
Maybe not.
That was a summit that was not in Texas. And then, and so I think we've had karaoke before.
Oh yeah,
Wow,
there's been
yeah.
in fact there was karaoke at Denver at that one bar. I forget.
Yes,
but
I have
Yeah.
I have video and pictures.
Rachel has proof. Yeah, so there's always stuff, but I don't know if it's not well communicated. That we also had it was also in the app, the Crowd Compass app. So
Yeah, but finding them is always hard. I know in the past they had tweet ups and such, but it was more you have to know someone.
yeah.
some of the, not the dine around though, because I remember the dine around in DC and Orlando and Denver, that was advertised to everyone.
And I remember at my first summit in Philadelphia, I didn't go to the banquet because I didn't know anybody there. So I ended up going to the beer sig, which was basically a big pub crawl. And that was, it was a lot of that was word of mouth. That's how I got, and also I saw on the advertised on the bulletin board. So I thought, okay, this is interesting. I don't drink a lot, but it was just, it sounded interesting.
Yeah.
That was back in the days when we actually had some kind of bulletin board that you could actually put post-it
Yeah, I was
notes.
like,
Yeah.
what? I was about to say, what is a bulletin board?
Yeah. An actual
But now we
physical
have
with
it out.
pins and papers and all that jazz.
Like paper? There's
Yeah.
Yep.
No, but this is
paper.
Yeah.
Paper
Oh my
is
gosh,
still
what is
still in
Uh-huh.
my office.
Oh yeah, I used the backs of my calendars for scrap paper.
That's the
But,
only reason
and-
I get calendars.
When I started taking photos at STC Summit, I was still using film.
Oh, you were?
Wow.
Okay,
Yes.
Rachel. Film. I've actually never really used cameras with film because for a while I didn't have one.
I had a dark room at my first
Ah.
home.
That
Oh yeah,
sounds really
my
cool.
parents,
Dark
my
rooms
brother
actually
built
do
one
sound very
onto
cool.
his house back in the day.
Um,
But yeah, this has been really great. I'm just for the interest of time, we actually are almost done with our slides, but there were a few more items I wanted to share. And then after that, if any of anyone wants to hang around and chat for a little bit, we can. But I'm gonna go ahead and start back up the slides just to share our present and our future, because we do have some upcoming events and some calls for action as well. So let me just go ahead and bring that up real quick. I know this is lively and it was just really hard to, stop the conversation, but I just wanted to cover a few things and make some acknowledgements as well. So going to here, let me just, I'm sharing, let me close this chat window. And of course, okay, so time to share. We've done this. So we've gotten lots of good perspectives. So thank you for everyone that shared. And so now we're going to take a look at the present and the future. So right now we've did our summit recap. So right now is June 2022. When does this happen in the movie? You're looking at now. So I thought that still from Spaceballs was perfect to describe what we're doing right now.
Thank you for bringing that quote in, Jamie. That was great.
Thank you. Thank you, Cindy. But I also want to, we also won some awards and we want to congratulate our award winners as well. So first of all, we received a Platinum Community Award, Community Achievement Award, citation for your outstanding support of chapter members with valuable programming, collaboration, and education incentives to continue with the mission of the Society. We were officially we were recognized at the summit as well as at the CAC Leadership Day, which was a few weeks ago. So, but I wanted to share with you all our certificate of that, as well as our PaceSetter Award, which is an award for an individual achievement. And this was for our Discord server TechCom office hours. So our citation for this award reads, for your effort to reach new chapter members where they are, using a new chat system to facilitate instant access to chapter activities and bring together conversations with the community. And also, we want to recognize Royce Cook, who was inducted into the Sigma Tau Delta Honor Society. So here she is with her award from immediate past and current STC presidents. There's Isa Moina and Kirsty Taylor, and there's Royce in the middle. So congratulations again, Royce. Well done. And us at the who attended at from our chapter, holding up our certificates. So there's Cindy, Laura, myself, and Royce. So the communities were invited to come up on stage at Summit and take pictures. And again, Rachel, thank you so much for capturing these moments.
Next year, I have to have a little picture of myself so you can hold it up, right?
Absolutely. And so this is just an example of, again, our honors. So you have the cardboard stand-ups showing the Community Achievement Awards. So we're up here with Platinum. And then the Society Honors Program, a printed piece of paper that has the thumbnail images of everyone who's won awards. So we have Royce over here for her Honor Society, and then the Community Achievement Awards. And then Royce's recognition for Sigma Tau Chi. So this was a really nice way of recognizing all of the award winners and communities. And so now we're looking to the future. Here's what's coming up. So in July, on Saturday, July 16th at noon, we will have an in-person social event in Houston. Location to be announced, because the location we had originally planned on, they turned out to be closed. So we are currently seeking a fun location, and I'm coming in from San Antonio to mingle with those who come. So I'm looking forward to seeing everyone in person. And our second thing is we have a survey coming up regarding chapter participation. So we're going to survey not only our members, but also those who are in the area and who are not affiliated with a chapter. So in this survey, we want to capture some information to help us guide our activities and to analyze the reasons why people may or may not join a chapter. And special thanks to Noel Atzmiller for putting together this survey, and with the team reviewing it. We should have the link available soon, and we'll send the announcement through email and send members the link to gather your feedback. And so we want to give special thanks to our 2021-2022 Admin Council. So myself, Laura, Noel, Jennifer, Royce, Sinitra, Erica, Julia, Cindy, thank you so much for everything that you've done over this past year. All your hard work and dedication has made us into a truly successful community. And of course, I want to thank all of you members and guests for helping make attending our events and participating, and just, making our community such a wonderful place. I thank you. And you can be a part of this team. You can be part of this magic. So right now we're looking for chapter officers for 2022-2023. So we have various positions available. So if you're interested in serving, whether it's as a treasurer, or if you're interested in becoming a vice president so you can eventually grow your leadership skills and become a president, just shoot me an email, and hopefully we'll have elections this summer, once we have our candidates. And even if you don't know quite what you want to do, reach out to us anyway, and we can help you, find a place within our group. So this is a wonderful team. And I know personally, I had just joined the chapter when I was asked to run for vice president. And I was like, at first I was a little nervous, but then once I saw, who I was working with, I felt very comfortable. So, I'm with a really wonderful team, and you'll be part of a wonderful team as well. So this is just a great opportunity to be a part. And so just want to close the ending with thank you for a successful year, and I'm looking forward to what 2022-2023 brings. And so now at this time, I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing my screen, and I'm going to stop the recording. And it's 7:47.